Hello, everybody, and welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name is Suj.
And my name is James.
It's Friday morning. Timestamp it, shall we? 9:15 in the morning.
We should do because the team news, yeah.
Friday morning. But I don't think we should talk about game week 26 today, James. I think we should talk about the situation, the whole situation.
I feel like this is an Antonio Conte.
4 red arrows in 5, James.
Oh, you want to talk about that?
And,
yeah, please talk about that rather than Antonio Conte.
We started the pod because I wanted to be better at FPL, and I cannot be better. No, I am taking the piss out of Antonio Conte and the broken man that he has become. But we'll get on to that slowly and surely. We will and do have to talk about game week 26 first, mate, because it was obviously a double game week of epic proportions. How I have scored 123 points and only moved. No, I've got a green arrow, but only moved up 3,000 places. Like literally, just call it a grey arrow because that's all it is. It is unbelievable. The number of people I've seen tweeting or messaging in WhatsApp groups with triple captain on Mo Salah and a red arrow is unbelievable.
Yeah, I've seen teams on sort of like 129 with red arrows this week. Those are obviously higher. What's your rank now, mate?
230.
Okay.
Started at 233. I peaked out at...
I didn't ask you what time you had an appointment with the dentist. I said, what's your rank, mate?
230,000. I peaked out in the middle of the game week at about 195. That was on Saturday after Salah, obviously. Triple captain was well ahead. And then gradually dropped back bit by bit. But yeah, unbelievable game week to be hitting like red arrows of that. Shout out to my mate Kevin, who is a very competitive FPL manager, and he's been very good in seasons gone by, but I think this season's found it a bit more of a struggle. Ended up missing the deadline. Third on his bench was Smith Rowe.
I was going to say Mo Salah.
Second on his bench was Rafinha. Benjamin and Edouard Mendy also on the bench. So his bench was worth about 25, 30 points, but doesn't even own Salah and scored 28 points this week.
20, what total game week score?
28. Kevin, I love you, bro.
Mate, listen, you know, some people play anti-FPL, don't they? It's like try and get the lowest score possible with players who actually play. If you'd done that this week, you would have struggled to score less than 28.
There are 9 million players now in the game, officially, and he got a rank of 8.8 million. So however badly you did FPL managers, someone somewhere did a little.
Yeah, I'd like to congratulate official FPL on having 9 million teams. Because there definitely ain't 9 million players. That's a certainty, mate. Maybe 3 million at a push. My week, so 141 minus 4 turned out quite well for myself. Up to 68k. I jumped to about 18,000 or so.
Yeah. Score again? Sorry,
141 minus 4.
Nice.
Triple captain Mo, obviously. Clean sheets for Foster, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Harry Kane's 15, Emmanuel Dennis 11, 7 for Rafinha. My bench, which going into the week looked like it could do bits, only had 5 points on it. So that was a little bit of a touch as well. So
I got screwed with Conor Gallagher sitting on my bench. I benched him thinking he's going to miss the Chelsea game, and who do I play ahead of him? I took the view that Bowen Antonio versus Newcastle was a better fixture, and Trossard with Burnley was a better fixture. That all came back to bite me in the bum. We talked this week about single game week players, James, having good single game weeks. Let me read you some names. Cancelo, Bowen, Trossard, Royer, who was at home to Everton, Antonio. Between them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points between those 5 single game week players. So the single game week players in the end actually didn't fucking deliver.
You say that, but then look at the game last night at the Emirates. I've seen a few people tweet like, oh my God, I got 6 players playing tonight. Got like 7 points from 6 players or
brutal.
Something.
I think that possibly could have been the best outcome from that game.
though not really. A few more own goals would have probably been handy for those of us who didn't have quite so much ownership in that fixture. But I think there were a few going into last night thinking they're going to hit the 200. But I've seen some unbelievable scores in excess of like 180 and stuff this week. Some absolutely monster scores. One of the things I did want to say, which I think's annoyed me a little bit and frustrated a few others, is the whole kind of this is my strategy and my strategy was best kind of thing. So triple captainers have obviously, those who went on Mo anyway, have obviously generally done quite well this week. I've seen teams out there, you triple captain Mo, didn't you?
Yeah.
You're basically calling it a grey arrow, right? Wildcarders generally are behind this week, but for those giving it the big and about, it was a bad week to wildcard and stuff. Those wildcarders have basically just set themselves, most of them, to bench boost in a couple of weeks when those who've just used the chip probably aren't. So you can't even judge it on this 1 week because they've got the benefit to come in the next few weeks. I've seen other teams with brilliant bench boost scores. I mean, look at like Sissoko and Brownhill. What was that like?
Well, Brownhill was 15. I have no idea what Sissoko.
Sissoko got 10 as well. I mean, if you had
25 between them.
If you had a 3-man midfield and you'd wildcarded quite early, it's quite conceivable you've got Brownhill and Sissoko been sitting on your bench. And I've seen teams not bench boost this week with certainly at least one of those players on the bench. So, yeah, listen, everybody's played their strategy for their own reasons. Just on Twitter, it's very much my way's best. And no,
my strategy was
don't judge it over 1 week anyway.
My strategy was the greatest. Do nothing. Like literally, I went into this game week with 5 double game week players, which was well behind what the majority of people would have had in double game week players, but just went off. I don't really want to drive in double game week players or make rash moves, not really fully understanding what 28-29 is going to be like for me. And it didn't end up hurting me too badly. I think the difference between you and me ends up being kind of sort of Kane, really. Had I owned Kane, we'd have matched each other. So, yeah, or had I played Gallagher instead of Trossard, could have been right.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, Harry Kane's 15 points was worth more in rank to me than Mo Salah's 84.
Yeah,
in terms of actual rank growth, because obviously Salah was so popular. Those who are hurting right now are obviously those who have gone with the biggest ones who've punted the differential triple captain to go against Mo Salah, who've obviously been. But obviously, if you went Mane, great. But like there was plenty of people were looking to go Trent as an alternative, right? As triple captain, you're sitting there sick now. Even the fact that they've won 6-0 on Wednesday night and Trent hasn't got an attacking return. I mean, that's the joke of Trent. You can't believe Liverpool scored 6 goals and he hasn't got an attacking return.
Yes, crazy. And Robertson's coming with 2. How are you set for this week? Because I haven't made any moves, not wanting to jump early with the midweek fixtures and what have you. So I'm still sitting there with Jota, Trent, Salah, Rudiger unavailable. Having said that, Soufal's groin operation means that I think Ben Johnson's a shoo-in.
Has he had an op?
Yeah, he had a groin op yesterday or the day before, so he's out for a little while. So Ben Johnson coming in at right back is pretty much.
It's got to be, isn't it? He ain't going to play Fredericks again, is he?
No. So that 3.9er suddenly is actually quite useful to me this week. So really, I could move on Jota and to Son, and I can move on Antonio or Dennis. Well, I don't think I'm going to move on Dennis before double game week next week. To Weghorst like you, and I will then have 11 players and no bench. But I'd line up De Gea, Kilman, Cancelo, Ben Johnson, Gallagher, Son, Bowen, Trossard, Dennis, Breuer, Weghorst. Although I think I might find a better solution than Son.
Why'd you say that?
Because Spurs are Spurs.
Yeah, and Leeds are Leeds.
Yeah, that's also true. 6-0 yesterday wasn't great.
I have made one transfer already. The planned transfer of King to Breuer has been stalled for the moment. I've bought Weghorst in for Josh King. I actually did it Wednesday night. There was the possibility of the flip in pricing, which hasn't happened yet, but it's probably going to happen tonight. I suspect one of the reasons the statistic models were probably out a little bit is because of obviously the volume of people mucking about with their team on a free hit and stuff. So Weghorst is in, and my intention is now to captain him over Harry Kane. I think that's a close call, by the way, but I'm going to go with the double R. I was really impressed. We'll talk about it when we talk about the game a little bit. Really impressed with Weghorst the other night. I would actually be surprised if he went through the 2 games and didn't score, considering the 2 teams that he's playing against. Palace have a set piece and an open play crossing issue. Leicester just have multitudes of issues defensively, including set pieces. So yeah, I'm going to captain Weghorst. Decision for me now is, do I bomb Dennis out for a -4 for Breuer? That's what I need to weigh up. So on the face of it, I'd probably need, for the immediate return, I probably need Breuer to get 2 attacking returns, I think, for it to be worth the hit this week. But then Breuer has a much better double 28, and he has a much better fixture in 29. And I think it's common case of, am I holding because of the double? We're still here. Now, at least I've managed to get rid of one of the Watford players. And it's definitely worth saying that in the last few fixtures, Dennis has been a lot more lively than King. And actually livelier than what he was going back to sort of the Norwich double and stuff like that. He's playing on the left at the moment, and he's having opportunities. Like, easy could have scored in a week. Yeah, it's front 3, yeah.
Yeah. So he's still forward as opposed to a winger.
He's very much involved. And actually, if King's out, he may even go back through the middle with perhaps Cucho Hernandez coming on the left, because João Pedro is probably going to be out for Watford as well. We haven't got exact Watford team news at the moment. So he could even go back through the middle. So that's all I'm weighing up in my mind at the moment. Is Breuer over Dennis worth the -4? Also, Breuer might not play both in the double. And then, of course, the 2 teams play each other in game week 29 as well. I'm going to have a think about it today. I haven't decided for sure one way or not. I think Breuer is very much a want. Like, I want Armando Breuer in my team. I'm not sure I need him at the moment. I mean, Dennis is doing okay, actually. I know he's been frustrating for people and stuff, but actually he's ticking over, like with the goal last week against Villa. We're not expecting him to score every game. I don't particularly expect him to score this weekend. But if Watford did score at Man United, you'd expect him to be involved. His goal involvement for Watford is massive when they do actually score goals. So I need to give that some thought. Ideally, I want to bin him, but I'm not sure I'm not sure I need Breuer as much as I think I do.
Yeah. There's there's still a good possibility that a wildcard, mate. Not wildcard. Scrap that. Free hit. Yeah. Still a good chance that I may. And I'll tell you, my thought process behind it is mainly that the players that I want to get in for this week, I don't want beyond necessarily. And that's on the premium front. So the Burnley guys, I want them for this week because there's a double. But I don't want them beyond because they don't have any more double game weeks, right? So I'm happy to bin them off. Bruno Fernandes, they've got a good fixture this week, but they've got no doubles the week after or in 29. So I don't really want to load up on Manchester United players. So if I was to buy Fernandes ahead of Son, for example, this week.
Doesn't make sense.
No, because then I would hold him. So, but if I free hit, I can have both this week. So I don't really want, I want Kane this week, but I can't have Kane and Son and keep Dennis and Breuer for next week when they've both got a double. If I keep if I move Antonio,
but then Weghorst. I know you want them now. This is think ahead job, right? So next week Tottenham have got Everton at home. You don't want Kane and Son then?
No, that's the thing. So if I free hit this week, I can have all of the players I want. But then next week, I'll buy Kane and or Son. I'll probably buy Kane.
Why not just buy him now? Take a -8 and get it done rather than use the chip.
No, but so that would be Antonio to Kane, for example.
Yeah.
Then I can't get Weghorst. Well, I can, but then I've got to sell one of Dennis or Breuer. But they both double in the next 2 weeks.
Do you think Weghorst is the best captaincy this week? If you don't buy him. That's why I bought him.
No, but I could free hit, right? And have Weghorst and Kane this week. I don't really want Pope beyond this week, but I could get both of them this week. I don't really want Fernandes and Sancho after this week because obviously they don't double, but I could still could get them. So I would rather free hit this week and take a -8 next week than take a -8 this week and keep my free hit. I don't know what else I'm going to keep it for.
Well, we did do a podcast on it on Tuesday, Suj.
Indeed, we did.
We spoke about it.
Looking at the free hit team that you and I put together, which was incredibly similar, I look at it and I think it does give me what I want this week, and I don't need to keep what I then don't want beyond this week, which is triple Burnley and double Manchester United.
I'm not sure it's enough to justify it. I just think take a few hits, Suj.
Take a few hits. Do you know what? The thing is, I've been storing up hits for weeks as well, where I've been talking about, I'll take a -4 this week. I haven't taken a hit for weeks, so I could just go.
Do it. I mean, take Son and Kane, right? Beyond, you're quite happy to have them the next few weeks. We've got Everton at home, then they've got double. Let's assume you're free hitting in 30 and Tottenham and West Ham doesn't happen. Then it's Newcastle at home 31. So if you go down that route, like part free hitting to part have them players now doesn't make sense to me, because you'd be thinking the same for the next couple of weeks as well, if you really want them. And I get that, because obviously this week you could have Fernandez, KDB and stuff that perhaps you wouldn't want next week. I get all that.
I can't afford both because Salah's sitting there taking up so much budget.
Yeah.
That's the difficulty. I can't afford both. Like, I'm 1.8 million short. So where else do I go?
How many Liverpool you got?
3.
How many Arsenal?
None.
I wouldn't do it, I don't think, mate.
But I've got Rudiger, remember.
What about dipping Salah in and out? So you could go, for example, this is like a Sky move, right? So go Salah to Son, and then next week go Fernandez to Salah.
Why Fernandez to Salah? I don't own Fernandez.
Oh, right. Okay. You're saying you would have him on a free hit?
Yeah, I'd have Fernandez on a free hit.
So can you maneuver it another way to keep Son and Salah next week, but obviously sell Salah now?
Yeah, by using a free hit this week and and sell Jota for Son next week. Just buy it, sell Jota for Son next week.
Just sell Jota anyway, mate.
Well,
although they do think he's got every chance of making the final on Sunday.
Yeah, interesting. I think it's something that team news will give us a little bit more clarity on. But I haven't ruled out the free hit at all yet for today.
I've not got a great team this week, but I'm not using the free hit. Game week 33, I just want to clarify a few things, because there's a lot of... James said the big teams probably won't double in 33. No, that's true, but they might all do. So cut the scenarios for you. Manchester United could definitely double in game week 33, would be Norwich and Liverpool at home, if obviously their game week 30 fixture with Liverpool gets postponed. Basically, any of the big clubs that goes out in the FA Cup in the 5th round or the quarterfinal, specifically the quarterfinal, or rather particularly, could well double in 33. So let's say Man City and Chelsea get through and they draw each other in the FA Cup quarterfinals, right? Well, one of them teams is definitely doubling in game week 33. Now, to make that kind of decision process before today's deadline, you've got nothing. You've got nothing. Let me tell you that mad shit happens in that cup competition. So do not guarantee that the teams that double in 33 are going to be shit. I've remodeled mine. I've had a second look at my kind of planning sheet for 33. And I've now got it penciled in as it stands. And this would be the favourites winning in the cup. Doubles now for Arsenal, Burnley, Everton, Leicester, Manchester United, Norwich, Watford, and West Ham, possibly. As many as that. That's unlikely to be as many as that, but it could be. And in which case, then, I want to keep it for that. That's my plan. As another reminder for people as well, I've seen a few people knocking about, I'm going to free hit 28 and 29. You're not, because you can't do that. So you cannot use, if you've got 2 free hit chips left, you cannot use them in consecutive weeks. For those who missed Tuesday's podcast when we spoke specifically about free hit for this particular game week and potential impact of when are other opportunities if not using it now, Tuesday's podcast, free hit game week 27, or free hitting in game week 27, I think we called it. Get that in your ears before deadline.
Okay, let's talk about the 4 games that we had since we last spoke, starting with Burnley 1, Spurs 0.
Is that where we're starting as well?
Well, alphabetically, on Wednesday, it was the first game, mate. Burnley 1, Spurs 0. We always go in the order that they're listed on the PremierLeague.com.
If I sound a bit bunged up, The weather there is why.
Calm as a bitch, eh?
I mean,
calm as a bitch, eh?
I tweeted straight after the game, I preferred the snow. And absolutely, on many, many reasons, I preferred the snow. The snow wasn't that bad. The snow didn't leave me feeling like I needed about 4 showers. It wasn't that cold. And I was walking to the ground about an hour before kickoff, and it was raining, it was fine. And then literally I got within about 200 yards of the stadium and the heavens opened. And them heavens didn't stop for about 3 hours. Weather was mad, and that's not making any excuse for Tottenham. Both teams had to play in that weather. There was one point I remember Kane played in the second half. He played a little kind of dinked reverse ball over the top. He loves that pass kind of from inside left channel over the top to the right wing back or right winger. So Emerson's running onto it, and Emerson's thinking, I'm going to head this back across the 6-yard box. And in mid-flight, you could see the ball just moved so fast. And he ended up stretching his leg to try and volley it and hook it back across goal. It was the only thing he could do. So it was difficult conditions for both teams. I think it's fair to say those conditions did suit Burnley somewhat more. It was a very even football match. The first half, honestly, you missed absolutely nothing in those first 45 minutes. Other than Josh Brownhill, absolutely exceptional for Burnley. Really, really good footballer. I mentioned him a few times at the start of this season and towards the back end of last season in terms of not typical Burnley football, a really good midfield player, and he is as well. I think some of the bigger clubs with respect to Burnley will start looking at him probably as early as this summer. He's a really good player. First half was non-event. Second half, we shaded the first 20 minutes of it. Missed a couple of chances. Minute 69, I think, or 68. Kulusevski puts one like a couple of inches wide of the far post, as me nearly on my knees. And then the next time they go up the pitch, we give away a stupid set piece, which you can't afford to do against them. Ben Mee scores. And then after the goal, they had some opportunities where we threw everything numbers-wise at it, but didn't really do enough. They had opportunities to get a second. So the second half was a good game. Game absolutely could have gone either way. It would have been really harsh on Burnley if they'd have lost, particularly, I think, in the end, because they put so much effort into the game and defended on a whole really well. But this wasn't the disaster that Antonio Conte made it out to be. It's just a bad night and a bad result. And I think, honestly, on Wednesday night, I think any team could have gone to Burnley and might have got beat because of everything that was happening on the pitch. I look back at United's result at Burnley a few weeks ago when they drew and they played in similar conditions and thinking, do you know what? It's not even a bad result when you reflect on it. And actually, Burnley have over the last not long period, in fact, the results against the challengers for the top 4, last time they've played them all, drew with Arsenal, drew with Man United. I believe they drew at home to yourselves, Suj, 0-0. Mm-hmm. They drew at Wolves 0-0 as well. And it's just a lot about Burnley, right? I think Burnley have lost like 9 games. Look at the goals conceded that Burnley have conceded this season compared to the other teams fighting the drop. It's so much lower than everybody else. So
of course. Now
they've got a forward who's a massive threat. I'm actually, for the first time now, I'm really confident that they'll stay up, which I think should make Brentford, Leeds and Everton extremely nervous.
Talk to me now, 2 things, I suppose. Let's talking about Spurs. Leeds away is going to be a very different game, and Leeds themselves got slapped 6-0 by Liverpool quite comfortably on the same night. Do you have any concerns / reasons why people still wouldn't want to pile into Son or Kane or anybody for that game from a Spurs point of view? Because I'm still very like Jota to Son is still top of my list of transfers that I could make.
I'm not going to put you off Son or Kane in the slightest. I will put you off defensive assets, as I've been trying to do for the last 3 months, but won't put you off the attacking players. I think it will be a high scoring game. I think with the absentees that Leeds have got, and this is important, that I think we'll probably go and win the game on Saturday. However, something that should make you nervous, not about Spurs in coming weeks, but maybe for the second part of the 29 double and potentially for now. Antonio Conte's teams historically do not do well in European football. Why do you think that might be?
Too many games in intensity.
Exactly that. He works them like dogs. How many times do I have to say the work the wing backs get through? Yada, 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 right? So, I mean, even on Wednesday night, I thought Emerson started the second half really well for 10, 15 minutes. You need to go to Burnley and play with intensity and stuff. And he did. There was a few turnovers. He won high up in their half on the ball, not fantastic. But actually, he won a few tackles for Spurs, which were important and got Tottenham breaking away. Then Conte took him off. But he's probably thinking, I need this fella at Leeds again at the weekend because I don't really want to play Matt Doherty against Jack Harrison. I'm thinking, yep, fine. I'm okay with that. So he took him off. He actually played Kulusevski, right wing back, which had some problems defensively because you know what Burnley do. And they honestly, Burnley, once they get it into the opposition half, play some lovely football, but they're not apologetic about putting it there in the first place. So they'll wrap the ball over wing backs and stuff like that. Kulusevski obviously give us a threat the other way, and he very nearly scored. Tottenham under Conte, when they've had more than 5 days gap, 6 wins, 1 draw. Tottenham under Conte, when they've had less than 5 days gap, 1-5, drawn 2, lost 7.
Oh, very different.
Yeah, this is a problem.
And Weghorst, you've obviously bought Weghorst that you mentioned already. Talk to me about your strategy around that. Obviously, captain him in the double, but then they've got Chelsea, it's a tough fixture. Then they got Brentford, good fixture. Southampton at home, also good fixture. City game after that. The Southampton game might not happen, obviously, depending on what happens on the Cup next Wednesday. But then Norwich. So are you planning on holding through, or is it a quick hop on and then after like Brentford in 29 or something, bin it? Well, you're pre-hitting 30 anyway. So
I might not. And that's part of the point, right? So before I have to make my decision for game week 28, I will know if Burnley are playing Southampton in game week 30 or not. Now, let's say I add Breuer today from -4 for Dennis, and then Southampton lose to yourselves, West Ham, in the Cup in midweek.
Why would you add him for Dennis when Dennis got a double next week?
So's Breuer.
Okay. Oh, fine. I've got both. So for me, it's a bit of a different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of that, he's weighing it up. Is he worth the -4? Now, if Burnley and Southampton did play in 30 and I end up not free hitting in 30, looks like I'll never use these chips, then the -4 is definitely worth it. So if Southampton lose and I've suddenly going into 28 with Breuer and Weghorst sitting in my team, I think I'm suddenly looking at it and going, well, do I need to even free hit in 30? I would be able to manipulate it by targeting teams who've got good doubles in 28, 29 anyway, to then go to 30. I think, like, I've only got one Arsenal player. Game week 29, it would be absolutely worth me taking a -4, even -8 to add 2 Arsenal players for 29 double plus game week 30 would be worth it. And it's at that point, I'd start thinking, yeah, I might not even use it in game week 30, possibly. Then that's probably forcing me into quite an early wild card, maybe 31, 32, but that's okay.
So unknown.
Unknown, yeah, completely. I would say if Southampton lose to West Ham, he probably gets pinned. If they win, he might end up hanging around. I would maybe bench him against Chelsea in 28. The 29 fixture at Brentford's not bad.
Yeah, keep him for that, and then bin
him. And then you've got 30. Now the other problem with them is Man City 31, but then Norwich 32. So there's the opportunity to use him, not use him, and stuff.
So yeah, he'd be a rotation player. Happy to bench him.
I'm not big on benching forwards. You really know that, Suj. I really like him. I think I'd said this last week on the pod, or maybe even the week before. He looks leaner and trimmer than the player I saw play for Holland in the Euros last summer. His movement's good. He's not especially quick, but he covers the ground better than, say, Peter Crouch, for example. And he's got more, certainly more muscle mass than someone like Peter Crouch, right? He moves around the pitch well. If the ball is flighted to him in the right place, quite frankly, it doesn't matter if you're Ben Davis at the back post or you're even someone like Antonio Rudiger. If he gets a run and jump on you, you're in trouble. He's got a really good touch for him. His link play is good. And I just think, we talk about say Chelsea not using Lukaku to his strengths, Burnley will. Dwight McNeil will wrap the ball into him all game long. I'm not suggesting you put Dwight McNeil into your team. So unfortunately, and he was really good Wednesday as well. He just flatters to deceive in terms of the attacking returns and potential of what he should be. But in terms of putting the ball in for Weghorst, great. And on the right-hand side, really great to see Azza Lennon playing well on Wednesday night, even if it was against my team. He's obviously suffered some mental health issues. Really nice to see him back. Looked like old Azza at certain points. At certain points, he took players on, and I remembered that roar that I heard at Turf Moor, to having heard it at White Hart Lane in years gone by. Connor Roberts at right back is far more offensive than Matt Lowton. Lowton does probably put a better ball into the box, but Roberts actually pushes them higher as well. So I like Weghorst, and it's the two fixtures. If Burnley were now walking into Brighton and Tottenham, and they were the only team doubling, in spite of the fact they've just won 3-0 and 1-0, I probably wouldn't have bought Weghorst. But these two fixtures come in, yeah. I think he's worth the armband this week, personally. And I'm definitely not alone in thinking that. Conte first, because I'm going to get criticised if I don't talk about it. On Tuesday in the press conference, he said, this is one of the best groups of players I've worked with. Then 36 hours later, he sounds like he's threatening to resign.
He wants to be sacked. There's more.
Or he wants to be sacked. Listen, you can't act like that. Reality is, if that's Mourinho, I'm going mental and I'm slating him. Now, Tottenham it's now a small chance of top 4, and they've got that chance because of Antonio Conte and what he's doing with a very average group of players, as I keep saying over and over again. But it's the end of February, mate. There's nothing you can do about it. Get on with it. Stop. I mean, his reaction after the game was worse than the fans on social media and stuff. Just throwing his toys out the pram. Why? We lost at Burnley. It's bad. It's disappointing, but it can happen. It can happen, especially the way the conditions were on Wednesday night and stuff.
I just thought, I was like, listen, mate, your players can see this.
Yeah, exactly. It's not on.
I'm like, your players are watching this. Like, what the fuck are they thinking when they're watching your manager do and say that?
Well, after the day before, and also the thing is as well. Okay, yes, of course, it's a bad result. You don't want to lose at Burnley. I get that, but obviously, what happened Saturday was great, right? Yeah, and you've just killed the whole energy. Because I think the fan reaction was, we all knew Burnley was potentially going to be sticky, and we were all saying, look, potentially off the back of Man City, it's the sort of thing Tottenham do. Go and win at Man City, go and lose at Burnley. What we've actually done is make the title race and the relegation fight much more exciting for all the neutrals. So you can all thank us.
So you've done a service to football.
We've done a service to football and the Premier League is what we've done this week. You should be thanking us, not hating us. But it's just killed. It's like the Man City game's gone. Hang on a minute. What these players really achieved something for you at Man City, and I'm very critical of them. So I agree with that, because the players on Thursday must have gone, hang on, we were great Tuesday, according to him, and now we're shit, according to him today. It's not on. It's not. He's emotionally way over the top. He's one of the best football managers in the world, but I think he's got to shut his mouth a little bit with things like that. Now you've got to work what you got till May, and you're getting paid a great salary. Get the fuck on with it, basically, as far as I'm concerned.
One of those teams that Weghorst is coming up against is Palace. Watford 1, Palace 4. I mean, very routine for Palace to go there and do a good job and win 4-1. I think
great result.
Disappointed to end up losing. I benched Conor Gallagher. That's a slap in the face that I deserve, just because he's been so good this year. And I looked at it thinking that Chelsea fixture, it's only a single game day. The others have got better single fixtures, but away at Watford ended up being not very workmanlike and Roy Hodgson-like. They got beat. Zaha, a couple of goals. Palace are right, they're still ticking along nicely. They hadn't been getting the results, but performance-wise, they are building something. It's just not very attractive because they haven't got any doubles in the next few weeks. Post Gameweek 30, all the way through till the end of the season, until the last day of the season when they play Man United, they don't play any of the... Arsenal, sorry, they've got any of the Arsenal and United. They've got 2 Big Six teams from Game Week 30 till the end of the season, and the rest of the fixtures are decent. So Gallagher's just going to stick around now till the end of the year, I think.
I don't think he is, mate.
You don't think so?
No. Reality is you're going to get to next week and you're going to look at Wolves away, Man City at home. and you're going to think, I can move this.
Yeah, but then after that, Newcastle, Arsenal, Leicester, Everton.
Newcastle might not even happen. So the next 3 league games might be Wolves, Man City, and Arsenal. In fact, as it stands, the fixture against Newcastle is unlikely to happen. So in theory, their next 4 weeks is Wolves, Man City, blank, Arsenal. You're okay, mate. The reality is with Palace.
Sky?
What?
Would you sell them in Sky?
That's a different game altogether, but possibly yes. Not immediately, but possibly yes. I think once you get beyond this game week, and they're obviously fine for this weekend, although Odds-on Edouard owners are screaming in my ear going, no, this isn't okay. But for your Zaha's, Gallagher's, defensive guys, yeah, this week at home to Burnley, it's fine. But you're going to be looking to move them on afterwards, I think. We identified them on the Patreon pod we did on Tuesday, Suj, and actually said from game week 28 to 32, when we were looking at the idea of teams wildcarding in 28, they are the one team, the only team that has nothing that appeals in those 5 game weeks as it stands. You wouldn't go, if you're wildcarding game week 28, there's no way you're having a Crystal Palace player. None. There's no reason to. So I think it's probably been cases against that would be someone who's just used their bench boost and you've got Gahey or something like that, then fine, you can bench him these few weeks and he might come in handy for you down the line, because you are right, so to say, they're running, they've got some decent fixtures and stuff. And also, they're probably going to have nothing to play for. I mean, that win certainly eased any worries that they might have.
Looking at my squad, actually, Mason Mount so affordable that Gallagher to Mount, because I'll have the money to be able to do that in 29.
You've already gone from keeping him to the season to selling him in 2 minutes.
No, you make a good point. I think the Chelsea problem in the back of my mind has always been there. Like, I need to get a couple more Chelsea probably by 29 at least. So Gallagher to Mount, actually, at that point, if you can afford the extra 1.5 million, isn't a bad shout.
There's loads of ways to go with it, right? You could look at it. James Ward-Prowse, Gallagher's got Wolves and Man City, while James Ward-Prowse has got double and then Watford at home over the same period, for example. Joe Willock, Ryan Fraser, a few others who got doubles coming. The Villa players, Coutinho maybe, for example. There's loads of different ways of looking at it. Colin Gallagher's, you'll end up benching quite a few of these weeks anyway. I think this week, obviously, great, Burnley at home. But I think if you've got Palace assets next week, I think they're probably moving on for you. Gator obviously picked up a knock against Chelsea at the weekend, didn't play at Watford, but the belief was that he had been training prior to Watford. So he might be back for the Burnley fixture this week. The one that's got everyone tearing their hair out is Odds-on Edouard, who I had warned when people were going into him, I think before they played Norwich. I spoke in the run up to that saying I was concerned that with once Zaha's back and stuff, he's not even nailed. I don't think he's guaranteed to play and stuff. I did not expect, however, Palace to have a double game week and for him to get 1 minute or so. Wow.
Brutal.
Oh, mate. Yeah, horrendous. The good news from that is he probably does play this week. I think you probably stick with him. From a free hit, interestingly, I don't think Palace is going to no interest in Palace players, but you shouldn't rule them out. You shouldn't rule them out. I think Zaha's a particularly interesting one this week. He's obviously, his mood will be up after his performance at Watford in midweek. One of the things I did notice, to come back to obviously Burnley, and I didn't watch a lot of this game, but Palace definitely had a problem with aerial balls coming into the box. Now, Joel Ward has also missed the last couple of games for Palace, and for a fullback, he's a bit of a unit, actually. Nathaniel Klein's not, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see Weghorst pulling out that way to get away from the centre halves, who are decent in the air, and getting in towards. I can see if the ball goes left, he'll target Mitchell and he'll spin round. Crouch used to make that run, ironically, to bring him up again. The ball would go into a wide area, he'd pull away to the back post. The benefit of that is you can either attack someone, or if it's more a floated ball, obviously you win the first header for the knockdown. Then you need midfield runners to come onto it. But I think particularly that side, Weghorst against Klein, he'll have so much success. So much success.
Watford are biddable now, surely. I know they've got the double next week, but it's not great.
Yeah, I mean, I've
United,
been,
Arsenal, Wolves. I think it's time to.
I've been king. I wouldn't be hugely surprised if they scored at this weekend at United, and if they do, then this is still the man you'd fancy, because he had chances in this one again. Honestly, he could have really hauled in this game week. But I think, yes, other than him and Foster, obviously. Foster's fine. But I'll play Foster in the double. It covers me nicely. De Gea goes to Man City. Foster's got a double. So I'll play Foster in the double almost definitely. Dennis, I'm going to have to think about it today. I really have not decided yet. It's going to be a close call. I think if it's a free transfer, Dennis De Bruyne, all day long, you make it. -4, I just need to work it out in my mind what I want to do.
Liverpool 6, Leeds 0. I don't even know how long we need to spend talking about this, mate, but we try and keep it to a minute because time is money. Liverpool are goal machines right now. Pick, choose, whichever you want.
Well, they ain't playing this week.
No, well, obviously not. But from 28 onwards, selling Jota means I can revisit that. Which 3 Liverpool are the best? And Robertson puts his hand right back up as the next best option there.
Do you know how many people have bought Mohamed Salah this game week?
No, I'm going to guess at 150,000 robots.
Go and have a look. Make yourself laugh.
150,000 robots.
Liverpool's XG, according to Understat, against Leeds United. Do you know what that was?
7.
No, don't be silly. A little bit over the top. 5.33 XG.
Still
5.33 XG in a Premier League game.
156,000 people have bought Salah. Good on you, boys. But the 141,000 have sold him.
So funny. So funny.
15,000.
These people, honestly, it must be people going, oh, I'm going to buy him now. I've got him for Leeds in midweek. Like, it has to be.
How many, this is a question, James, how many of those 156,000 that have bought him are also part of the 141,000 that have sold him because they bought him, realised there's not a fixture, and then sold him again? I bet you there is at least 1,000 people that have done that.
Probably, yeah, but a small percentage, 1% maybe.
Nutters.
Even if you remove the 2 penalties, Liverpool's XG is still pushing near to 4. I mean, it's really big. Really big. Anybody who pushes above 3 XG in a football match is big. Liverpool 5.33 and Leeds 0.14. Liverpool had 10 big chances in the match. Leeds, unfortunately, are way too weak at the moment. Way too weak. I mean, the Matip goal, I know everyone's raving about it, but it's so basic and simple. So basic and simple from Leeds' perspective. They just let him walk through, play a 1-2. Great return pass from Salah, by the way. And that was was that the opening goal of the game or the second goal, I think, wasn't it? You're still in the game at that point. Oh, man. So, yeah, I mean, at the moment, I'm quite confident that Tottenham go there and win tomorrow. I imagine probably a lot of Leeds fans will think the same. We'll just think, we didn't stop in Kane and Son. And I can certainly say, yes, if you're on free hit this week, you should probably go with both. We'll make hard work of it. Like, I think we'll probably win 3-2 or something like that. So I think Rafinha shouldn't necessarily be overlooked. I've got no problem with him actually sitting in my general team this week and then with double and Norwich to come afterwards. So I think he's an interesting one for those not free hitting this week to don't overlook him actually. It looks nice on the other side. Tottenham aren't keeping many clean sheets, honestly. I do fancy us to go there and win. The Liverpool assets, ideally it's bench, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ideally. They're not the ones you want to sell. I think in your case, like with Jota, you should maybe consider it because then you can chain it where you go on to Robertson afterwards or something. So I've only got 2. It's an absolute certainty. I'll add a third for the next double, I think, in game week 29, unless it works my way where it's actually better for me to get 2 Arsenal because it's completely justified. But yeah, I think depends really. I'm still assuming Chelsea are going to get this double in 28 and therefore I'm buying at least Rudiger in 28. I think, by the way, the Arsenal game, if it's not announced by the end of today, and when I mean end of today, I don't mean deadline. I mean like 7-8 o'clock tonight.
You mean just after deadline?
Deadline 6:30 p.m. our time. If it's not been announced by sort of 8 o'clock tonight, I don't think Chelsea are going to play Arsenal. And my instinct right now is that it's probably not going to happen. But I think today's the day. It's not going to happen. But I do still think Chelsea will play Norwich. in game week 28. I really think they're going to bring it forward to the Thursday in game week 28 at 1 week's notice is what I think they're going to do. I think the clubs will be aware it's disgraceful for the fans. I've covered this previously. If I buy Rudiger, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to work Robertson back in, because once Rudiger goes in, they've got a great run of fixtures, which obviously he'd be staying for. So it might actually be that I end up going back to Jota myself. Luis Diaz, lively, good player. What was really interesting, which I think was quite surprising, now obviously, again, I didn't see much of this because I was at Burnley, but Mane played as the central of the three. When I saw the team, I assumed it would be Salah. But I think part of that was Mane kind of dropping into deep spaces like Firmino does and allow Salah and Diaz to obviously attack the space, because that's what you got to do with Leeds. You got to drag their players and you just got to go and fill the space. A few people have asked me if Son counts as a midfield runner against Leeds in the sense of a Bruno Fernandes or Jacob Ramsey have done recently, or Joel Matip did on Wednesday night. And the answer is yes, he does. But when we played Leeds in November, which admittedly was Conte's first game, major problem we had in that game, and the second half was better than the first, was the team was too structured. The team was too structured in terms of you don't move people about. Leeds' fullbacks went on that day were so aggressive with Son and Lucas. They followed them everywhere. What Son and Lucas should have done was taken them away, swap sides, give them decisions to make. They didn't. The fullbacks were able to just go and be aggressive with Son and Lucas on the halfway line. What Tottenham need to do is just go, move about the pitch. So if Son's playing on the left, you take a chance. You go and wander right, see if this guy comes with you and stuff. And at that point, it becomes a midfield runner. I think Lucas will start because of that. His ability to run with the ball quickly, I think, will be useful for this game. I think he'll start. So Kulusevski, I would not go for on a free hit. I do think in the weeks to come, he's really interesting. He so nearly scored again on Wednesday night, but I think for this particular fixture, Lucas might start.
Last but not least, Arsenal 2, Wolves 1. Who was that young chap that scored for Arsenal towards the end?
Jose Sarr.
Not him, before that. There was
Nicola Pepe.
Jeans. Pepe Jeans. Where's he been?
I mean, to be fair, if Arsenal finish fourth and get to like the knockout stage of the Champions League next year, that'll be the money back for Pepe, won't it?
Pretty much. I mean, unbelievable. But initially, when Wolves were winning 1-0, I was like, this will do nicely, because a lot of people doubled up on Arsenal defence. That's already blown out.
I've seen quite a few double up on Wolves, to be fair.
And then when it kind of went to 2-1 Arsenal, I was like, all right, well, if anybody is going to be scoring and assisting, Eddie Nketiah to Nicolas Pepe, and then Alex Lacazette for a Jose Sarr own goal, that's anti-FPL if ever there is. I nearly bought Jose Sarr, so dodged a bullet with that. And none of the others have got any kind of ownership that means.
What did he finish the game week on, Jose Sarr? Like 1 or something?
Let's have a look.
I mean, he's so mad unlucky.
4 points.
4. I mean, that's all right, isn't it?
Well, he got 0 yesterday, so he got 4 against Leicester.
Well, yeah,
and that was conceding a goal as well.
I'm saying, because he scored an own goal, 4 points are right in the double, isn't it? He definitely keep.
6 saves Wolves, is what he made against Leicester. That's why.
Wolves, is worth remembering, have the outstanding double
next week,
in game week 28. However, having watched both of Wolves' games this week and obviously saw them the week before at Tottenham, I've definitely come to the conclusion that I do not want Raul Jimenez. It's not there for him at the moment. And I'll tell you how far it is off. So Bradley Parker said that he would drop Raul Jimenez.
And I was saying that I don't want to do a swap deal, mate, with him. I'll take Jimenez. He can have Antonio, because both of us are unhappy with our striker.
No, keep Antonio, mate.
Yeah, tongue in cheek. That was.
He wants to see them try something that's a bit more fluid, like Neto, Hwang, and Podence. Podence actually been playing quite well lately. Hwang took the goal so well last night. Hwang, I cannot tell you enough. And it looks basic. The first touch he takes, he's so perfect, because he doesn't just take a touch. He gets a little kind of reverse spin on it, which means he can beat Ramsdale and shoot with one touch in the same movement. Brilliant finish. And Neto is a top player, who's obviously back available. They're going to be quite careful with him, I'm sure. And I'm sure Raul Jimenez will play against West Ham this weekend, for example. And I'm sure he'll probably start both games in the double. But his performances right now are not meriting what looks obvious in game week 28. And in game week 28, what looks obvious to me is Raul Jimenez should be captain. I ain't doing that. Palace at home, Watford at home. He should be captain. He's not playing at his best. His hold-up play is not great at the moment. In terms of his finishing, it's a little bit off. He obviously took the goal really well at Tottenham, which I think shows you the ability is still there. But I am concerned now that he's been playing nearly all season. And we're probably, he's going to find it through no fault of his own, very difficult now to get back to the point that he was at, obviously pre the serious head injury. Still love him as a player. I just think he's really struggling to get back to that peak where 2 years ago we were talking about him going for like 60, 70 million and stuff like that. He's not. He's not there. His all-round game has dipped a level. I think pace, hold-up play, aerially. He hasn't scored a headed goal this season.
Yeah, it says a lot.
There were a few trying to, and Bradley span that narrative last week was, wouldn't it be amazing if he scored the first headed goal back at Arsenal? And it would have been. But yeah, I'm concerned about him. And the reason I mention it now is he's going to be really popular this week going into game week 28. Really popular once this West Ham game's out of the way. And I'm sure it'll build next week in terms of captaining him. And he may well be the best choice. I don't want to go there. I do not want him in my FPL team, unfortunately.
That's enough football chat and FPL chat, I think, James, when we've wrapped up the
It's
games.
definitely not, because if I don't tell the truth that Arsenal deserved that victory last night, no matter how late it was,
I don't want to talk about them being their top four, mate.
I'll get absolute pelters, but no. It was very, very late. Wolves got too deep, and there were too many chances happening. There were far too many, and you can call it heroic defending if you win 1-0. That's what people call it. But there were way too many shots from inside the box that were getting blocked and stuff. The goal felt inevitable. And actually, once they equalised, I think the majority of people watching the game thought, oh, do you know what? They might cave here, actually, in spite of the fact they're obviously brilliant defensively. And the winning goal is unlucky in terms of the way it comes off Sarr and stuff. But Arsenal deserved to win last night. Interesting that Smith Rowe came straight back out the team again. I was surprised about that, actually.
Yeah, bizarre why he's not getting the minutes at the moment.
Obviously, if that Chelsea game does get announced this week, then with double, I think you steam into them, particularly if you're running, you haven't got chips to cover game week 30. They'd be worth anything. I think if Arsenal do end up playing Chelsea in 28 and you've got none and you're not free hitting in game week 30, there's a strong case to say, take a -8 and get 3 of them in. If it's double and then cover 30. Just get it done. And I think the best 3 really right now would be Ramsdale. I think Saka, great value. I mean, there's another one for you. Gallagher to Saka, Suj. There's another one for you. Saka, and then depending on which way you want to go, whether it's like Martinelli, Tierney, stuff like that. But yeah, I think if it gets announced, you just steam into them.
Should we cover off some Twitter questions, James, just for a couple of minutes before we wrap up this pod? There's still so much more content. Patrons.
Particularly if you've got anything on teams we haven't mentioned.
I was just going to do the non-football related ones.
We'll do one of them first, then have a skim through.
Okay. No, I mean, most of the questions are around the double game week players and what have you, and free hits and what have you. We have covered off a lot of the dilemmas around.
You know what I didn't
it's
cover?
Worth getting Weghorst and so on.
Ben Mee. Okay, right. Confession time, because now I've seen it live in front of my face as well. Ben Mee's head is as big as James Tarkowski's.
Good.
I owe you all an apology. I was tripped up by Ben Mee's big head.
We still have a deadline stream today, so head over to youtube.com/Planet FPL and make sure you're subscribed. James will go live at 5:30 UK time.
Yeah, busy old day. Time. The best bit as well is the wife's out tonight, right? So I'm actually going to have to do this while babysitting my son.
Nice. Also,
unless someone wants to offer their services.
Patrons will get a differential show later on today as well. Head over to patreon.com/Planet FPL. We predict the scores and also reveal our teams, as well as have a bit of fun with some other competitions that we run as well. We've welcomed a ton of new patrons this month, and if you are one of them, thank you so much for your support. It really just kind of keeps the lights on, and so on and so on. Right, James.
Go on.
This is from Jimmy Claret. Where else? Best food you've personally
no.
had at a football ground.
I thought he was going to say in Burnley. I was going to say still the Greg sausage roll when it snowed. Best foot. I did this a couple of weeks ago. Sausage roll at Leicester. Phenomenal.
So mine is the burger.
I went back for a second one, mate.
The burgers that we used to get at Barnet back in 95, 96, because they were served out of a polystyrene box. You know, they had like a strap that goes around your neck, and then the person would carry the box around the stands.
Yeah.
Lift the polystyrene box up and give you a burger out of the box. How long it's been in the box and when it was cooked, no one knows. But they used to be like £2-3 or whatever. A burger that's served out of a polystyrene box wrapped in foil cannot be good, Jimmy. But that's got to be the best, surely. We've also had a question in about fish and chips. I missed it. But it was considering that, here we go. Armand says, considering it's chip season, what's the best fish and chips you've been into in London?
Toffs in Muswell Hill.
Toffs was well up there as top 2 or 3 for sure.
It wasn't. I think it was voted best in Britain one year, wasn't it?
Yeah. Toffs is well up there as Poppies in Camden's supposed to be pretty banging as well. I've not actually eaten there, but
well, I used to live in Hornsey, so Muswell Hill, you could walk up there
easy. There was a place called the Two Brothers in Finchley as well.
More importantly, there was the pub called the Green Man, which I was drinking in when I was 15, so which was more useful in Muswell Hill. It's closed now, so I'm not upsetting anyone.
Here's a confession that's like an hour into the pod, so maybe most people won't listen. There's a restaurant called the Two Brothers in Finchley, fish and chips restaurant, that I ate so much I was physically sick. That's how good the fish and chips was.
Okay.
I was sitting there. I might have had a bottle of wine with my mate as well, but
that was no
contributing.
You just couldn't hold your drink down, could you, sweetheart?
There was plenty of good fish and chips in London, to be fair. And anybody up north is going to say it's not as good, and I get it. It probably isn't. But right, what's your thoughts on best captaincy for this week? A number of people asking who to go with.
I think it's quite open. I think probably Cancelo is probably going to be the only player over 100%, I think, because I think a few will go with him. We haven't spoke about Man City particularly, but we did quite a bit on Tuesday's podcast. I think De Bruyne, and Cancelo are probably the City standouts, because I think Grealish and Jesus back available, and that would just scare me way too much if that's true in terms of Mahrez and Sterling. I think Mahrez is the really... Luke said it on the wire, and that's worth listening to. Again, we recommended that pod on Tuesday. Half hour of Luke with the FPL wire guys. It's half hour long. They recorded it on Sunday, Monday. Really good on kind of how Luke tries to work out who City are playing. You have to remember it was recorded before we think Grealish and Jesus was. It looked like they're going to be available. I don't think City now. Personally, De Bruyne or Cancelo should be safe. But in terms of guessing the wide players and the forwards, I wouldn't want to stick the armband on any of them now personally. But then I'm a bit more gutless than other people. I would prefer Mahrez of the punty ones, if we can call it that. Obviously the Burnley guys. So I think Nick Pope, brilliant option this week. If Nick Pope's sitting there as your only Burnley asset this week, you should consider it. Me, Tarkowski, absolutely fine. Weghorst is where I'm probably going. I think they're the only 4, certainly from a captaincy perspective. Spurs, Kane and Son. United, Bruno Fernandes. If you want to captain Bruno Fernandes this week, absolutely fine. Jared Bowen, I think although the form is still great, I think against Wolves is not a captaincy. I think the real obvious one to say to avoid, and I'm sure it will come back and bite, but I don't suppose anybody is captaining Ronaldo, are they?
No.
I don't even think he'd be in many free hit teams, would he?
No. And
it's only going to be the fanboys that are still going for him, surely.
Ryan Henderson gives us the last question of the show, James. I think I already know the answers to this. Who finishes higher in the league this season? West Ham or Spurs? Surely, I think Spurs and you think West Ham because we're so anti our own teams at the moment.
I think the answer is probably Southampton, isn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say something along the lines of we've still got European football, so it
Yeah.
gives you the advantage in the league. But 11 o'clock is the Europa League draw in 45 minutes. We'll get Barcelona. That will be the end of that.
Oh,
And,
that would be amazing. Honestly, you want it. You don't want an easy draw. I'm telling you, want it, mate. You
I
want to
don't know
play
if
them.
it's either
You do.
Barca
It's a
or
once in a
Rangers.
lifetime opportunity,
But-
possibly, to play Barcelona. You
It's
want to play
true.
them. You have to
I'd
play
got-
them if it's available, mate.
I mean, Rangers would be a great tie as well.
It would. You won't be taking your kids that night. That's a certainty.
Nah, forget about it.
If it's
Give me
Barcelona,
Barca.
you take the kids to play Barcelona.
Hmm.
Amazing, mate.
Well, the
Yeah.
tickets are bought, so let's see what happens. So I think Spurs will finish above us. But
We
shall
spoke about it on our Tottenham podcast Wednesday and stuff. I think probably yes. I think we probably will, but I think top four is beginning to look like it might come down to Arsenal versus United. And I'll say what I've been saying for weeks, that I think
Wolves. Don't discount Wolves, I think.
I'm not discounting them, and I'm not discounting Tottenham or West Ham either. I'm telling you what I think it's beginning to look like is it'll be Arsenal v United. And I'll repeat what I've been saying for a number of weeks now. I think fourth is Arsenal's to lose, and they should take it.
Yeah.
Southampton, before we finish, just real briefly, because I see loads of people talking about it. Livramento for free hitters, right? He's dirt cheap. He's been a brilliant FPL asset. Romain Perraud is available back from COVID. I saw Late Riser posted from the FPL Wire, posted on Twitter earlier that he'd been doing some digging into Southampton fan forums, and most of those fan forums don't think Livramento will start. The most nailed Southampton defenders on a free hit, if you're desperate for one, are Bednarek or Salisu. Bednarek does come with XOG, which you know what that stands for, don't you, Suj?
Yeah, ex-own goal.
Yeah, expected own goals, because he likes one.
Listeners, good luck today. Don't forget Friday deadline. And I say that as much to remind myself as to remind you. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Play it your way. Be nice to each other. Cue music, please, man. Show.